Hello, thanks for checking out my video. Today we're going to be working on some fine motor skills with a pincer grasp or a lateral pinch or a three-jaw chuck, some nice bilateral coordination with our non-dominant hand, some gross motor skills by using our upper extremities in extension and building some deltoid strength to stabilize our upper extremities, as well as some visual motor skills scanning back and forth and some visual perception skills to match the colors. So this activity is pretty simple if we're just going to match colors of Fruit Loops to our corresponding pipe cleaner, or it can be a little bit more complex if we want to remove all the additional pipe cleaners and complete a pattern with our Fruit Loops. Or it can be a little bit more complex even still if we want to use these pipe cleaners and Fruit Loops as counting materials. So in that case, we would put all of our Fruit Loops onto the pipe cleaners and match the Fruit Loop to the corresponding pipe cleaner color. And then we would count how many of each color we had. So this is up for you to decide what is the best activity for your child's skill level. And I'll go ahead and review all of those options again through the video. So the best way to get started is to decide which option is best for you. And for me, I'm just going to use the pipe cleaners and the Fruit Loops just to match colors. I think that's going to be my preferred option. And as I'm doing that, I'll be working on my fine motor skills, gross motor skills, and visual motor skills. So in order to do that, we need to set up our workstation, and we can create a situation here where our visual field can be spread out, and these will mark the visual field here. So our visual field will be spread out, so we constantly have to scan horizontally from side to side to locate the correct color. And while I'm doing that, I'll have my bag of Fruit Loops at the top of my visual field so that I constantly have to look back to my bag of Fruit Loops and then back down to my visual field below. So I'll be working on some vertical visual pursuits as I continue to look back to my bag of Fruit Loops, and some nice horizontal pursuits or some scanning as we work side to side within this visual field. After we've set up the visual field, we can go ahead and just take the bottom of the pipe cleaner and maybe fold it over a little bit, or just kind of make a ball or just crumble it up. Anything so that the Fruit Loop doesn't slide off when we put it on. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for all of my pipe cleaners. And then when I'm done with that, I'm going to start matching colors. And they shouldn't fall off of that. Now we'll have ourselves some nice material that should hold the Fruit Loops in place. So I have all of my pipe cleaners kind of sealed off at the bottom, and I'm ready to begin matching colors of Fruit Loops to the corresponding pipe cleaner. So for my friends who have selected to match the colors of the Fruit Loops to the corresponding pipe cleaners, we can just do this one at a time and grab whatever Fruit Loop we want out of the bag and then match it to the corresponding pipe cleaner. Or we can make the challenge a little bit more complicated if we want to complete our color matching in the sequence that we have our pipe cleaners laid out. So in that case, I have a pink pipe cleaner, but I don't know if I have any pink Fruit Loops. I have the closest I have here is this kind of red looking one, which I'm going to use for my red pipe cleaner. So if you have a pink pipe cleaner, we're going to go ahead and just use the purple Fruit Loops to our pink pipe cleaner. It's close enough for this activity. If that's going to throw you off altogether, you can eliminate that and just eat the purple ones as they come out of the bag. But for me, I'm going to just match the pink pipe cleaner with the purple Fruit Loop, And again, you get to choose. Do you want to just pick out Fruit Loops at random and then match them to the color, or do you want to follow the sequence laid out in front of you here? So for that instance, we would go purple, green, orange, yellow, blue, and then red. And then we can complete the pattern again if we wanted to. And as we were doing that, if we followed in the sequence, going from left to right or right to left, whatever you choose, if we follow that sequence, we would have to be a little bit more selective with what we get out of our bag. So in that case, our bag has a bunch of different color Fruit Loops in there, and we have to kind of search through this entire bag here and find the exact color for us. So that can be kind of tricky. So if you don't want to do that, then we would just pull them out one at a time, blue, and we would match to blue. And that would be how we would complete this activity. As I'm completing this activity, we're obviously doing some color matching. So we're working on our visual perception skills and identifying the colors and matching to the corresponding piece. We're also using our visual motor skills, as I talked about earlier. But what we're really doing is working on some great fine motor skills. So this is a nice pincer grasp. And pretty much every Fruit Loop that I pull out of here, I'm going to be using a pincer grasp with some good graded muscle force. So I'm not squeezing these things so hard where they kind of crush or break, and I'm also not dropping it. So I have to have the exact amount of muscle force needed to just hold this item without breaking it. And again, we're getting some good fine motor skills. If it kind of rolls around in your hand, this is really great for developing some dexterity skills. And we can also increase our gross motor involvement by having our hands and arms elevated above the table. So if we're working on some gross motor skills, maybe we're working on building up our deltoid strength so that we can stabilize our arms as they are in extension and above the table, then we would hold the pipe cleaner above the table, making sure that our arm is not resting on the table, and that'll help us build up our deltoid strength and postural stability required to complete this activity. If your child doesn't have that kind of postural stability or upper extremity strength, we want to make sure that our forearms are rested on the table, providing that stability for your student so that they can work on the fine motor component of it and don't have to worry about the stabilization part. So that's how we can modify this activity to meet your child's skill level. And we're not only getting some good fine motor skills with our Fruit Loops as we grasp it, we're also getting some good fine motor skills with this pipe cleaner as we hold on to this as well. So you can see that the higher up towards the top that I grasp my pipe cleaner, the less kind of wiggly it is. The further down towards the little knot that I made, it's going to be a little bit more wiggly when I go to put my Fruit Loop on. So we want to make sure that we're maybe somewhere in the middle or closer even to the top so that we can successfully put our Fruit Loop onto our pipe cleaner. Now we're using some really good bilateral coordination skills with our non-dominant hand as we maybe stabilize the pipe cleaner or just kind of move the Fruit Loops down to the bottom. So again, we're using great fine motor skills and really some good bilateral coordination skills as we complete this activity as well. So now that I've reviewed some of the skills that we'll be working on, it's time for us to really kick it up a notch and get it rolling here. So let's go ahead and start matching straight from the bag. I'm just going to pull out one color at a time. So this will be the most simple of the options here, and I'll start with that. And I'm just going to pull out one Fruit Loop at a time. I'm going to get my pipe cleaner using a nice 3-jaw chuck to hold the Fruit Loop. Good bilateral coordination. Pronating my arm maybe a little bit. One of the two has to pronate. so I can get my Fruit Loop onto my pipe cleaner, and I'll just pull it all the way down to the bottom and get another one. And it looks like this bag has a lot of greens, so I'll be working with the green ones a little bit. I got a double, maybe I'll put that off to the side so I can have a little snack later. Now I'm going to go back and match. So again, I'm looking up to my bag of Fruit Loops, some good vertical pursuits this way, and now I'm scanning throughout my visual field to use my visual perception skills to correctly match the Fruit Loop to the corresponding color pipe cleaner. Now that we've identified two different ways to complete this activity, one being following the sequence, the other being pulling them out at random, you get to choose which one you want to do, and I'm going to finish this activity just by pulling them out at random and then scanning across my visual field to locate the correct pipe cleaner. I'm going to go ahead and finish that portion now. So I've just demonstrated how to complete this activity very simply, either just by grabbing a Fruit Loop from your bag and matching it to the corresponding color, or by following the sequence of the pipe cleaners here that you've laid out in your visual field. Those are all acceptable ways to complete this activity. And we can go ahead and finish that activity the way that we selected. Another way you can make this challenge a little bit more difficult is by creating little bends in your pipe cleaner. And these are kind of like the little bead toy games that you find at the doctor's office where you have to navigate your way through the path. We would do the same thing with this pipe cleaner, and then when we put our Fruit Loop onto the pipe cleaner, then we're really going to have to kind of navigate and maybe have a little bit of problem solving and really get some good extra bilateral coordination work in. So if that's the way you want to complete the activity, you can make kind of a zigzag pattern. You can make one that's maybe like half of an arc. Let's see if we can get that. There we go. That'll work. Or we can even try to get one. See if we can get it to look like a shape. So in this case, we'll just use one that looks like a triangle maybe. And you get to decide what's going to be best for you. So for this one, I'm going to create another zigzag shape. And then when I get done with this, I'll have a little bit more of a challenge manipulating my Fruit Loops in this pipe cleaner. So let's see here. Maybe I'll do one kind of like a spiral. There we go. So now that we have these different shapes that we've created with the pipe cleaner and a different way to complete this activity, I'm going to go ahead and put a couple more Fruit Loops on my pipe cleaners. Now that we've discussed how to put our Fruit Loops onto the pipe cleaner and ways to establish visual motor skills, visual perception, some gross motor skills, and some fine motor skills, we pretty much have that dialed in. So now we can use these in the same way that we just did and complete the activity of your choosing, and that'll be your activity for the week. Or you can continue using these and maybe use these as some sort of math manipulative or something that we can use to count the Fruit Loops. So if we wanted to just count the Fruit Loops, we would obviously just go ahead and count them, but we're really working on some good visual motor skills as we do it. So in this case, we're working on some vertical pursuits because I have the straight pipe cleaner here, and we would just count one at a time all the way up. So our eyes are working their way up all the way to the top, and we'd be working on some math concepts as well. So that's just kind of an added bonus. Another way we can do that, turn these into a math manipulative or some sort of tool for us to use for math purposes, is we can do some simple addition with these. So I've eliminated most of my pipe cleaners and Fruitloops, and I've left just these out. Maybe I want to straighten them out now. I can do that. We've completed the fine motor and bilateral coordination part, so this can just kind of live like that just a little bit. Be easier for us to use. And then we can go and do things like counting these blue ones. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we would practice writing the number 6 plus 1, 2, 3, 4 red equals, and then we would count all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's just another way that we can use these Fruitloops with the pipe cleaner to our advantage in teaching some nice math skills. And if you're choosing to use these as a counting and a math manipulative, make sure we also get some good writing practice in so that your student can either trace along the numbers that you wrote for them, or they can write the number themselves if they have that kind of skill. So that's the activity for this week. I hope everyone's going to enjoy it. And I hope that we also work on our really strong bilateral coordination skills, get some good fine motor skills with a pincer grasp or a 3-jaw chuck. We're really getting some good visual motor skills, scanning throughout our visual field. We're getting some good visual perception, just matching the colors to the corresponding pipe cleaner. And we are able to use our upper extremities extended off the table so that we have to provide our own postural stability to complete the fine motor portion of this activity. So again, I hope you found it useful. I hope everyone has a good time, and please feel free to contact me if you have any questions on how to implement these strategies with your student.